Hello and welcome to Money Matters. I am Folashade Ogurinde. It is not unusual for the federal government to toe the line of one of its biggest economic supporters, that is the International Monetary Fund, IMF. But this time around, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has put its foot down on IMF's latest economic advice. The IMF, in its 2021 Article 4 consultation report on Nigeria, had advised that the CBN should consider scaling back its credit intervention programs because they are likely to cause market distortions in the long run. But the CBN governor, while acknowledging the huge support the IMF has offered to Nigeria so far, insists that the focus of the Apex Bank is to stabilize the macroeconomic sector, a role it is not ready to toy with. So here we are now trying to put all of these arguments forward to see if the CBN's Credit Intervention Fund will indeed have future consequences or if the IMF is just crying wolf. Well, I have with me Sheriff Dean Teller, who is a professor of economics at the Olabisi Onabanjo University. Thank you very much for joining us. So let's break down these arguments one after the other. What do you think are the major concerns of the IMF with regards to Nigeria's credit intervention programs?
I want to say that there is need for intervention in the economy. And central bank will be one of those that will intervene in the economy because of the fact that monetary policy and fiscal policy are supposed to go together. What's important is the channel of that intervention. I think what the IMF could be saying is that the central bank cannot directly intervene in the economy because that is not part of its objective. The objective that's set of the central bank. But the central bank, that everything goes through the Bank of Industry. When it comes to intervention from agriculture, it should go through Bank of Agriculture. So these institutions are there to carry out the central bank, the functions of those sectors. And the central bank would have to route its intervention through that, not the central bank now playing the role of retail banking or even wholesale banking that's supposed to be done by these agencies. So that the central bank mainly is to make sure that it makes monetary policy that will assist, in stabilizing the economy. So all those direct intervention that the central bank is doing can be taken up by the appropriate institution that should do it. Central bank would then make sure that they monitor what is being done to be able to make sure that the outcome is, because there was a time the central bank governor was also complaining that many of those people that have received this intervention fund are not making returns or they are not giving us appropriate reports. Some of us have also asked that where are the reports of all this intervention? All this, and central bank has not been able to answer that effectively. So, like I said, the central bank has the right to intervene, but it cannot intervene directly as a central bank. It can intervene through appropriate agencies like those banks that were created for such purpose, because those ones will be the ones that have the manpower to carry out those objectives.
So in specific terms now, the IMF said, and I quote, CBN interventions have provided financing to underserved markets, e.g. agriculture, and mitigated the impact of the pandemic. However, they cannot be expanded indefinitely given likely efficiency costs and market distortions, and its thorough review will be warranted. End of quote. Now, do you agree with the IMF's position?
Well, we cannot say that the agriculture is a market. It's one of the major markets, particularly for a developing country that is of our own nation. The agricultural sector still employ over 25% of the population. And we know that production from that sector is very huge. So the central bank has the right to intervene in that sector. Just like I said, it shouldn't be direct intervention. It should be through appropriate agencies like Bank of Agriculture, and then the central bank will monitor it, because the Bank of Agriculture will have, the link, the manpower, to actually monitor whether those funds being provided are used for the appropriate thing. So the central bank doesn't have that manpower. It doesn't have the technique. It only has the technique of giving out money. So agriculture is very important. We can say that intervention to business sector can be limited, but we know that the small and medium scale enterprises are very, very important in this kind of economy. So I don't agree with the IMF that agriculture is not an important. It's important. The method of disbursement, the method of intervention could be wrong, but the central bank has the right, and it's appropriate for central bank to make sure that there's attention to that particular sector through appropriate, agency.
Now, in its defense, the CBN has said these interventions are working. Emefiele mentioned that the over 300 billion naira disbursed to over 1 million homes helped to catalyze consumption, expenditure, and return positive in GDP. What do you make of this?
And that is what we have asked, that the central bank intervention, not enough to mention how much, but what are the outcomes? We must have the outcomes in concrete terms. Because if the intervention has been working, we should be able to see the positive impact, which some of us have not seen, except that the intervention was in the rice pyramid that was created, but the price of rice is still very up high, so we don't know what's the outcome. All the price of food stuff, which are part of the agricultural intervention, are still very high. So that's why we said the central bank must provide concrete evidence of the intervention, the genuineness, in terms of volume, in terms of price reduction, and in terms of employment generation. We have not seen that. So it's not enough to tell us how much has been actually invested. The central bank recently said it has intervened with about 3 trillion naira in various sectors of the economy. But we must be able to, there must be monitoring, and there must be reports, there must be transparency in what is being done. The report should be able to show at social time, this is where we are, today, this is where we are. And that should be based, that should be evident in the statistics that we are getting from both the central bank and Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, but we are not getting that yet.
All right, before I let you go, I would like to ask, for how long do you think the CBN can continue its credit intervention programs before the IMF's concerns come to fruition?
That is why there must be planning before the intervention. The central bank would have said, okay, for the next 18 months, for the next 12 months, for the next 3 years, we are going to intervene. I don't know whether that program, actually exists. So we cannot predict. The central bank knows the amount of money they have, the level of intervention that they want to do, and they are the one to be able to say, okay, this is how long it will last. If they don't have that up to now, I think it's important for them to look at what they have achieved so far. Let us know how much they have achieved and when they are going to stop. But I think that it's important for us, for any intervention that we're going to have, we must have plans. The country itself has no national planning. They say they have for a 5-year plan. 5-year plan is a kind of medium-term thing. But I believe that there's need to plan any intervention. Anything that we want to do, there's need for us to plan. So the central bank must know its plan. And must have decided how long it will take. Assuming we get so output, we are going to stop at this time. Assuming we are able to get the report, positive report earlier, then we are going to stop at this time. So I cannot be telling the central bank this is when they should stop, or they know the depth of what they wanted to do, and so they must have their own plan. It is for them now to say this is how long we still want to do this business of intervention, but it cannot be ad infinitum. That it cannot be forever.
Well, indeed, it was a pleasant first-half conversation. Sharifdeen Tella, Professor of Economics at the Olabinsi Onabanjo University. Thank you so much for your contribution.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll take a break here, but Money Matters will be back shortly. To stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Now, yeah?
Yes, Oga.
Okay.
Where I go come find 300 naira change?
I better try look for change now. When they do business? Hey, Timmy. I did, bro. I be. I beg, give me 200 naira. Make I take sort out this guy. If let's say no get change.
Take it, give us.
I said 200.
Give her 100 naira.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree to pay 200 naira.
How much you think they carry people from that place we carry on the chair?
Oga.
Why they touch me?
Now 100 naira.
Uh-huh.
He agreed to pay.
Because that was what you said was the fair.
Why
hold
you
this
not
one,
go pay
hold
you?
this one.
Why you they extort your customer? You see this corruption, what would they hear for news? They see for people everywhere. Now be this so. This is corruption.
Not in our country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Welcome back to the program. As part of a planned drive to ensure food sufficiency and boost the nation's fertilizer needs, President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurated a world-class fertilizer plant estimated at $2.5 billion. The plant, according to Dangote, has the capacity to produce 3 million metric tons of urea yearly. At the ceremony, President Muhammadu Buhari expressed optimism that the project would help reduce unemployment in Nigeria. But with continuous attacks on the nation's infrastructure, there are mounting fears over the state of the nation's fragile economy. Joining me to discuss this further is Kalu Aja, economist and financial advisor. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Now, it's easy to imagine how vast this project is, but how much of an impact will this $2.5 billion Dangote fertilizer plant have on the nation's economy?
Yeah, hi, good morning again. Thanks for having me. It's going to be a massive positive development for Nigeria. Number one, we save forex. We import fertilizer, I believe. Now the plant is 3 million metric tons. Our demand is about 1 million metric tons. So we have almost 2 million to export, and we have enough for local needs and employment. Backward integration. It's just a good development for Nigeria. So in terms of the commissioning, I think we got it right this time. And number two is backward integration. We're creating jobs. We're now an exporter of fertilizer. I know the CBN has supported this facility as well as the Dangote refinery. So we're starting to see the positive fruits of this now come to reality. And again, like you said, fertilizers is key to the value chain for foods in Nigeria. So once it is up, we expect that food prices, mid to long term, will start to come down as we now no longer have to import fertilizer and we have enough fertilizer to use locally.
Now, low fertilizer usages have been the reason for low yield of agricultural products. Now, to what extent do you see this infrastructure transforming the sector, perhaps in terms of price of fertilizer?
Yeah, great question. And that's really where my only problem is. We've seen lots of quote unquote largest in Africa, biggest in sub-Saharan Africa, and all that being commissioned in the past. I mean, the cement factories we have in Nigeria, we say we are exporting. We have Nigerian natural gas. We say we're exporting cooking gas. So we always have the largest rice farm, but rice is expensive. We have the largest cement factory in sub-Saharan Africa, but cement is expensive. Of the largest gas processing plant in Africa, or cooking gas is expensive. So my fear for this fertilizer plant is this. I want to see prices really, really come low. Not just cheaper than the imported variants, but really, really come low. We used to have the fertilizer for phones scheme a few years ago. We can use that same scheme and make 5 bags of fertilizer, even as low as 500 naira. I'm not advocating for price controls, but this particular facility has seen a lot of support from the federal government, right? A lot. So we should be able to see those that price, drill down to the farmers. 5 bags at 500 naira is a big investment or dividends back to those farmers, and that would affect the food value chain. So pricing is my only problem. I don't want to see a big factory like this get commissioned and prices do not significantly come down for the Nigerian farmers. Then you might have to ask yourself, so what's the fuss about? Yeah.
So let's talk about other areas of the economy now, or other infrastructure needs. What other parts of the economy must we see such extensive investment?
Power, power, power. I mean, it comes back to power. You can't have an economy without power. And I think we've gone through, I mean, everything's important, but I would say if I had a genie that asked me that question, I would say just fix power. Once you fix power, the cost of production falls. Once the cost of production falls, then more Nigerian SMEs can employ and create jobs locally. Once you start to do that, consumption goes up, inflation starts to come down, productivity starts to go up. So everything revolves around this lack of power. Cheap, reliable power to grow the SMEs, to create jobs, to drop the cost of doing business. That really, I would say, is the number one. Once we get past that, everything else has to fall into place.
But let's talk security now. We've seen an unprecedented rise in the frequency of terrorist attacks, especially on the nation's infrastructure. In economic terms now, how worried should we be?
Yeah, so first of all, just to say our thoughts, prayers, and all that with the victims. People have died in hospitals, so that's the first thing we want to talk about. Just say sorry and pray for everyone. In economic terms, this is not good news. This is not good news at all. It's not just an attack, right? It's an attack from the nation's capital to like the largest base where you have the military in Kaduna. And what we see is that this has happened over and over and over and over again. It hasn't stopped. So an investor is going to ask himself, can I and should I invest in this country that cannot protect its citizens and cannot protect critical infrastructure like this? Can I go to the north and have a tomato farm if rails cannot work? And if airports are being invaded, if roads are being invaded by bandits? So I feel really, really sad. This is like infrastructure that we have built and we can't use. These are dollar loans that we are taking the fares in naira. Already a bad precedent there, right? But now we can no longer even make the naira revenues from these assets. So in terms of the deficit, it's going to go up because every day the trains don't work, the deficits go up. Every day we have this sort of bad news, it filters to the wires, it raises our risk premium. To give you a specific example, Rwanda is smaller than Nigeria. They have no crude oil, but they are borrowing at a lower cost internationally than Nigeria. Why? Because of news like this. You hear a train gets stopped for hours, people are kidnapped, some are killed. And, you hear it all the time, airports overrun. It's just a bad precedence, bad optics for the largest economy in Africa.
Well, indeed, Kalu Aja, economist and financial advisor, thank you very much for your time and your contribution on the program.
You're very welcome. You have a great day.
You too. And that's it on this week's edition of Money Matters. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.